Floyd's Mayhem Garage. Well, the race was postponed because it snowed. It was supposed to only originally rain, and then we were supposed to get more rain, and then it turned out it was going to snow, and it snowed quite a bit, so the race was postponed for 2 weeks. So I think one of my worries on this car I'm going to take care of. I think I'm going to try to put this 8 3/4 rear end in this thing. So, now that the race is postponed, that gives me a little bit of time to do some more work on this thing, since I was really sort of pushing my luck on time anyways. The car is, of course, at a running and driving condition. That 7 1/4, I welded up the spider gears, welded it up with the welder off of the generator. Not my best welds. Couldn't get a whole lot of heat to it, penetration. Turning down the power on the welder actually made it weld better. I think the generator was struggling to keep up, so it was sort of surging, and turning the power down allowed me to run a nice continuous speed, though I wasn't getting as good of penetration because it's not as hot. Regardless, it should be good enough, and that was the plan. But now that the race is postponed, I've got basically this weekend, and I think I can get this rear end swapped. So what I have is a 8 3/4 out of a E-body, CUDA Challenger. It is 4 inches wider than an A-body rear axle, but it's the only thing I have laying around that's I would not worried about cutting up, because I don't have any E-bodies. A lot of the E-bodies came with 8 3/4. It's not a super rear or super rare rear end. And then I already had it. The 2 inches wider means the wheels aren't going to fit in the wheel wells, so I'm going to have to cut up the wheel wells, which for this car I'm not really too worried about either. And then spring perch width, we are 64 inches on this E-body, and the A-body is 61 inches. 61 or 41? It's not 61. No, that's way too much. Whatever it is, can't think of that off the top of my head, I guess. 46 inches versus 40. No idea. How's that? I would have to look at those numbers again. Gotta look them up every time. It's a 3-inch difference either way on the spring perch width. So I need to cut these off and move them inward. And so I've marked them off here. I don't know how well you can see this on camera. You can see it pretty good. Okay, good. Got my Sharpie lines, 1.5 inches in, and then same thing on this side, 1.5 inches in. And so I did this on my D100, or my swept line, What I'll end up doing is I'll cut one of these off, and just start with this side, why not? I'll cut this shoe off, or pad. I've got new spring pads in a box, so I'll cut this one off. Don't need to worry about saving it, just throw it away. Grind up, clean the welds, use this center line as a mark. And what I end up doing is, since this is already set pinion angle wise for a car, and it was in an E-body, Mopar, and it's spring under, pretty much I'm just going to set it on blocks. Have the new one set where it needs to, sitting on a block, and then the old one, which is still welded, will be sitting on a block as well. Then I just tack this side on, tack this side in, and then, of course, weld it at some point as well. But once this side's done, then I can cut off this side and do the same. And so I'll move them in that way and keep the same pinion angle that's currently on it. And is it right without measuring it? No idea. Is it going to be close enough for what I'm doing for this race car? Absolutely. And like in most cases, that'll get you almost exactly where you need to be anyways. So, you know, if we look at the axle here, kind of rotate it, you know, you're looking at the center line of those bolts, and then go down to the spring perch. It looks like the spring perches are angled down a little bit, which means however the orientation is with the leaf springs in the car, that's going to be your pinion angle. And usually, I know you want a little bit of, you know, it's like half a degree or 1 degree down, anyways, or a couple degrees down, but it's gonna be close enough. And then of course your spring angle, how they sit and all that affects all that as well. So yeah, with my time frame, this is gonna be the quickest and dirtiest and best way that I could think of. And as well, I guess the main reason for doing this as well, strength is gonna be a big one. That 7 1/4 is, you know, those are like glass, especially when you start beating on them. Welding it, I would figure to make it a little better, I could break an axle or break a spider gear and still have powered at least one wheel. But it's got 294 gears in it. The thing is gutless with that 318. Even as, you know, small of a car, it's got a little bit of pep to it, but it struggles to spin the tires in dirt. So amongst putting the 8 3/4 in as well, I've got this. I've had this in a few vehicles now. It's a 489 case with 411 gears, and I had previously welded them. So I had an issue. I think I broke the roll pin on this, which meant the center pin was moving, and a couple of the teeth on the pinion are a little scarred, I'm going to call it. They're not really missing teeth, maybe, you know, the edge is a little bit rounded over. You can tell that they've had something rubbing up against them, but not anything broken. So I had taken that out and welded it together, and I've had it in a couple just projects kind of like this so far. And so this should make a huge difference in this car, putting a set of 411s in here for the dirt track. Of course, you can weld it. It's a spool, if you will, or, you know, live axle basically at that point. And that should make a huge difference both launch wise and, you know, getting the power to the ground. It'll actually be able to spin the tires even in dirt. You know, probably actually roast the tires pretty good even on, you know, dry pavement at that point. But it'll make it to where on this track that's not very big, I can at least get out of first gear probably. Where before I figured with the 294s I'd put it in first and probably not touch it. So this should make a huge difference. And then the axles that came out of this thing, rusty, but, you know, surface rust, a little bit of heavy pitting on this one. This one's better shape, but they were gross, nasty, and they're gonna work though. So yeah, I gotta cut and weld and hopefully get a rear axle put in this here. I doubt today, but at least in the next couple days, hopefully. Well, we're looking like I might be done working sooner than I was expecting. Getting some thunder rolling through here. Haven't seen anything bright for lightning yet, but it's looking like it's about to rain. So anyways, getting this ground down, kind of realized I don't really necessarily need to get all of the weld off. I mean, it looks nicer, but I'm also kind of in a hurry, so I think that's good enough for now. And yeah, these are the spring plates I purchased, so it should sit there somewhere like that. I've got my mark I made on that side somewhere, so it should sit somewhere right about there, and, you know, somewhat matches up with that side. So I can flip these over now, get this actually centered with my mark, and then my pieces of wood, I can either, I'll probably get off of this edge and put them on the diamond plate completely so that they're mostly level. And then yeah, I think tack this side up and tack it, if not weld it, and then do the same thing on this side. What I did there, repeat. And something like this. Looks pretty good. So this side's sitting where it is, you know, old marks where it was, on a block of wood. And this side as well. Got it lined up center line with my black line. So I think we're looking pretty good. We look like we might possibly, this might be a hair crooked, like, you know, this way, like, I don't, like, it's not cut properly on the tube, whatever. Close enough center for your spring packed bolt, whatever fits. It looks like the hole in the new one is a little bit bigger than the old one, so that might allow me a little bit of play actually, which could be beneficial. As well, I'm getting extremely low on gas. So the guy out here, he's a supplier for welding gas. Gave him a call. He is at his shop, so I think I'll get this tacked because I am literally almost out of gas. So hopefully it's enough to get it tacked, and then I'm just gonna run and get a new bottle and then proceed. Okay. I just went ahead and welded the whole thing. You know, not terrible welds considering. I've got this, you know, heat turned down so far, so it'll actually run a consistent weld. Otherwise it pulses real bad. And so, I mean, I'm getting some penetration, not nearly as much as I'd like, but you can see I'm getting some heat into it. So, and this is where my gauges have been. They were sitting at 20, it drops down to like 15 or 12 when I pull the trigger. And then it's been sitting on nothing for quite a while. So it's gonna run out any moment now, but yeah, not bad. I hope that holds. It should. It's actually not as bad as it could be, I suppose. Decent looking. This side's a little, well, I mean, both sides have some spots in them, but doing what I can with what I've got. Yeah, pretty good little rainstorm we had. So, yeah. Anyways, out of gas now. Got that loaded up. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. I do, however, need to go that direction, which is the direction that the storm is currently heading. So hopefully, it's been, you know, about 15 minutes since it stopped here, plus getting on the road. Hopefully, by the time I get over to Cooley's, it's not raining there anymore. But yeah, then we'll come back and maybe finish up welding the rear end. Well, I don't know if you can see around, but Cooley is definitely a Ford guy. He's got some cool stuff around here. Man, it's hot in there. I had to stop at Maverick 2 while I was there. Every time I'm in buyers there, might as well pick up some ammo. So, cool. Got the tank as well. Some mail showed up. Yeah, still, it's lightly sprinkling, and it's pretty cloudy. Weather said there's a 10% chance of rain, and it's been raining quite a bit, so I'll see what I can get done here. So, been doing some talking with the guys at Treadwear. Turns out they contacted me about my stock car that I built and or I'm, you know, still currently building. But they're the guys that built the Scraptona, and they really loved the stance of my car, and so they had a bunch of questions for me regarding that and how I obtained that and what I did. And it was pretty funny. I said, I know I was looking into their car and stuff, you know. I remember watching that build when they did it, and I myself took some design features from that car and put them into my own, or, you know, into mine. But I know when they started on theirs, they used an offset dirt track chassis, and they even said same thing. They used hardly any of it. They had to pretty much design a full custom chassis. So it sounds like they're building another car, another Charger, and sounds like they want it to be pretty similar to what mine is. They want to keep the more traditional race car chassis sort of in its original form, but then they want it nice and low. I forget what engine's in the Scraptona, but I guess they have some drivability issues with it. They said it's kind of picky, I guess. But yeah, so it's cool. I've been talking with them here, you know, giving them some design ideas, whatnot, and talking back and forth on our cars. And with that, ended up doing some business with them. I've got my own tire stickers now, or tire, what do they call these? They're tire stencils. And of course, Floyd's Mayhem Garage. Let's take a closer look at them. Oh yeah, man, look at that. That is killer. Oh, these are so cool. So yeah, these are some sort of I don't know, like a rubber fabric. They're reusable though, so you just lay them down on the tire and spray paint through it, and it's just stencil, and that's what will transfer over to the tire. And so this is awesome. So ideally, what you end up doing here, you know, Floyd's and Mayhem and Garage, something like so on the tires. Oh, these are cool. I'm excited to paint some stuff with this. I'm gonna have to be careful. I'm gonna go overboard here. There's some things that I probably don't need big giant Floyd's Mayhem Garage, you know, logos on, like, but maybe I do at the same time. Maybe the C500 needs some. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But my race car definitely needs them. I'm excited for that. My stock car, 100% going to get these. I think these are going to look killer on the General Mayhem. And, you know, shoot, at that point I might as well just do the C500 too, huh? Just get my whole fleet of vehicles lined up with Floyd's Mayhem Garage stencils. These are cool. Again, if you're at all interested in these, Treadwear, I think they're Treadwear USA on Instagram, and you know, Treadwear is the company. They make, you know, all kinds of stuff for tire add-ons, upgrades, whatever. But this is one of them, is the tire stencils. So I'm really looking forward to these. These are gonna be exciting. Oh, I can't wait to paint something. I'll have to paint. Yeah, I can't leave the video with this. Yeah, I guess let me paint some. I don't even know. Regular spray paint, probably. We'll see. Yeah, mainly it's probably what I have laying around that I can paint with. You know, yellow is going to be ridiculous and cool. Give that real NASCAR vibe. White is a little bit less subtle, or a little bit more subtle, you know, not as, but you could do almost different colors. You could red, shoot, you can do orange. That's too much. Maybe not. All right, let me yeah, I need to find a tire to paint. Oh yeah. That is awesome. Look at that. Floyd's Mayhem Garage. They kind of look terrible on these tires because of how dry rotted they are. You see all the cracking in the paint, but those look awesome. I am absolutely thrilled about that. Oh my goodness, that is definitely that NASCAR vibe or look or whatever. And yeah, in the kit it comes with these little like sticky round things that you kind of stick on. I just decided to tape them around the outside because I figured I was going to kind of mask it that way anyways, and that seemed to work quite well too, quite well as well, you know, whatever. And yeah, and then there's just a couple of spots I just rolled up some tape and put it on the back side just to help stick down the M's mainly is where I did that. And yeah, that is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and I love the look. And you know, it's funny, I know like my stock car that I've got, I've been trying to find a set of, you know, old NASCAR tires, you know, like the Goodyear Eagle ones with the big yellow writing on them. And you know, shoot, I might just be able to make a set now, you know, or make something, you know, Floyd's Mayhem Garage ones that look the part, at least they'll look like, you know, at a glance like this, look like it'll be the old NASCAR ones, but yet this is my my channel, you know, my brand, I guess it's becoming a brand. Yeah, this is killer. I think it's time to go get some glamour shots of this thing. The sun's setting, we got some dark clouds, we might be able to get some pretty killer pictures here. Yeah, that is awesome. I can't believe how awesome this looks for how simple that is. And I will say, putting them on the car, I'm seeing them right now, the Mayhem and the Floyds don't quite line up, but I also just kind of quickly did this, I guess, on this race car. I'm not real picky about this race car, but super simple to apply. I guess it would maybe make it a little bit easier, I think, if you took the tire off and actually laid it down on the ground, and then you could look straight down on it. Might make it a little bit easier to line up. And then as well, I had to do them in two different sections and then roll it to do the other side. I didn't have to, but it ended up, I think it made it easier that way. If you had the wheel off and just on the ground, I think you could lay it all out and make sure everything's lined up and then paint it. But for my cheap race car like this is perfect. Well, that was perfect. I drove it over here, made a loop, backed up and parked, and got out, and both of the tires are in almost the right orientation. Floyd's Mayhem Garage and Floyd's Mayhem Garage. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but that works. Boy, does that look good. During it's old. Well, we're getting windy again. But I've got an 8 3/4 with spring perches at 43 inches. So this will now bolt into my race car, my A body. So still too wide, it's 2 inches wide on each side, but that's fine. That'll be some quarter panel trimming. And yeah, this is gonna be super exciting. But my work might be cut short here again. It's getting windy because the sky looks like that. So it keeps moving closer and closer. So it's probably gonna be raining soon, but I'll probably I don't know, keep working as long as I can. Try to get this rear end together. I think I'm gonna try to put the center section in, clean some stuff up. Might as well slap some paint on this stuff, you know. And yeah, I think get the at least get the third member in it. Maybe verify that the axles fit properly. Measurement wise says they do, but then I'll have to take them back off, because I think what I'm going to try to do, this has, I'm assuming 9-inch drum brakes on the rear, which I believe the bolt pattern's the same. I think. I'm going to have to double check that. If that's not the case, then this is going to be troublesome. But I think 2 inches on each side, I should be able to bend the metal hardline from that car. And if I take the drums off of that car and put them onto this rear end, I won't have to break into the brake system. I don't have to bleed it. And then it should hopefully be enough in the line that I can stretch it and make it get that extra 2 inches. So we'll see. Yeah, hopefully the weather holds out here. Like, it's raining. Come on, man. Well, shoot, maybe I'll go right after this. See how much rain we get, I guess. Oh, so this is something else I was concerned about, and I'm kind of looking into. I do have a plan for it, at least. Bigger rear end also means from centerline axle to where the pinion is further. So I measured them. They looked pretty close, but that's while I was laying underneath the car here, you know. So let me hold you there. Yeah, we're about 10.5 inches to the center of the U-joint there. And this guy, we are 12.5 inches. So is 2 more inches? Alright, so that presents a problem, which I have a solution for. My drive shaft is going to be too long. I've only got about, you know, when I'm taking it out of this rear end, it only goes into the transmission about 1.5 inches. So that's not going to be enough. So my plan, just for what this thing is, looks like I've got some play here. E-bolts I added. They come with multiple holes. I'm going to lob out the square hole, and that is going to be my new centering pin, if you want to call it, for the axle. So the axle is actually going to be further back than the 7 1/4 was. And I will do that so that the drive shaft fits. And then because this rear end is wider, I've got to cut out the wheel wells anyways, so that's not really going to make a difference. But yeah, I think that's the game plan there. Alright, you ready to see a struggle? This one's going to be a little heavier than the 7 1/4. Alright. Oh, boy. Yes, yes it is. Well, that was stupid, wasn't it? Alright. Well, that's not too bad. I love it when you measure stuff you know, measure, 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 and then weld, and then you set it in place and it falls right into place. And so I was doing some measuring too, because these have those Allen head bolts. I didn't even have to touch those holes, so it just fell right into place. That's 1.5 inches back, so that should be enough room for what I need with the drive shaft clearance. So my bottom plates that I have now, I'm gonna have to drill a hole 1.5 inches back as well, or 1.5 inches, you know, offset, so it can sit back as well. And in fact, I was just looking at those. I bought some aftermarket plates, and I think they're flat. Yes, they are. So that's going to work even better than the original stamped steel ones that I would have to, you know, that aren't flat. So yeah, that's going to work good. So pretty much, yeah. Whatever direction orientation this goes, just offset the or drill another hole 1.5 inches off from that one, and this should bolt right up. All right, well, we're bolted in and not tight yet, but my thought process is you should actually double check drive shaft clearances and whatnot, since I did all those very precise measurements. So hopefully this actually fits. Ooh, we are tight. That could be a problem. That could be a big problem. I might need a shorter drive shaft. That's not what I wanted to see. Can't do much about the size of the rear end. I can only really change the size of the drive shaft at this point. It needs to be about 1/2 inch to 1 inch shorter, probably 1 inch, because it's pretty much right at the correct length it's supposed to be. Alright, one of my thoughts was jack it up, get some tension on the springs, because of course the way these are set up, leaf springs get longer as they flatten out. So getting some stress on it, or getting some pressure on it, I actually did move the rear end back a little bit, but if I really wanted to, I probably could cram it in there, but that means I'm going to have zero room up at the front there. So I think my answer is I got to shorten my drive shaft. Not bad. Not bad considering. I mean, that's definitely not my best work, but this little generator, it does all right in putting out some power. I put 4 tacks around it originally, and those were my start and stopping points. So welded one side, flipped it 180 over, welded one side, went 45 over basically, and then 180 again. And so I welded 2 sides and then 2 sides. And then because they were sort of cold spots, if you will, I went back over each one of those joints and just added some extra material in there at each of the joints, just in case. And I figure 4 of them should keep this thing relatively balanced. So hopefully this thing's square. Otherwise I am going to have a vibration, but I'll have to I can play with that. So yeah. All right, something I ran into. One of the 8 3/4 axles had left-hand threads on them. So I pressed out the studs on one of the 7 1/4 axles and pressed out the left-hand thread ones and then pressed in the right-hand thread ones. So that's good. That was could have been bad. But nah, it would have just been a short postponing. But yeah, I think I can slap these axles in, get some brakes hooked up, zip tie some things, and we should be on the road here shortly. Or at least, you know, taking it for a test drive here. Alright, well, we're in, we're adjusted, we're put together, and got to zip tie some brake lines since they're not going to sit quite properly. I think I'm going to put some baling wire on this exhaust. Eventually I might put another hanger on that. But just put a wheel on the side and got this lug nut holding it because look how wide it is. Holy cow. 2 inches is quite a bit. So I'm definitely not wrong, I think, with how far up I've got to cut this. And I mean, I'm going to go basically to the top of the inner fender in here, which is basically where this line is. So I'm going to cut it very similar to like how the Hemi darts were cut, the super stocks, you know. And that still may not be enough because suspension's drooped right now. Luckily, it's got that extra leaf spring in there, so the rear end's stiff and it sits higher. But holy cow! But fitment wise too, because I moved that axle 1.5 inches back, it actually looks pretty good. And because of that, I know my inner fender in here is pushed up. I might see if I can kind of move that back a little bit, because, you know, center line's now here, where 1.5 inches would have been here. But I've got more clearance back here than I do up here. So, yeah, because if you imagine, you know, 1.5 inches, you know, I've got 2 inches there, 2.5 inches. It was close before, so it opened that up at least. But I think that's pretty much how far I've got to cut it. Yep. That's some clearance. Holy cow, that looks ridiculous, but yet totally awesome. And actually, I'm quite surprised how well, using just the Sawzall, the inside trimmed up too. I thought about when I, you know, looking at it, if I should try to leave some extra, and that way I can like fold it up. But I opted against it. I decided to cut it. So I don't know if I'll try to fill it or if I'll just leave it. And if mud gets in there, mud gets in there, I guess. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to preserve this car. I'm building a race car. Man, that looks good. That ought to make for some good tire clearance. Boy, the inside of that wheel well looks terrible. I think I've got to paint it. Well, let's just see how this looks. And as well, the suspension's still not under its own, it's hanging, you know. So the wheel will go up a little bit, but oh boy. Might have to trim that a little bit more, because I'm thinking once it's compressed, it's going to be getting close to there. We'll have to see about that. We have plenty of room up here. I mean, really, I can go up quite a bit by the time this angle gets to here. I mean, we're talking 7-8 inches. But, you know, when you're talking, you know, 8-9 inches here, that extra inch there could be important. Wow, that's ridiculous. I might leave that for now. I can trim that here in a little bit, or later. I think I can trim that once wheel and tires on too. I think that's good for now. I think I need to make the other side match. That one's gonna be a little bit more fun with my my barn material on the quarter over there. Well, under its own weight, it really doesn't sit much lower. And of course, I put these, I don't know, trailer wheels on with not so hot of tread on these tires. But instead of burning up my good ones for the race, I'm assuming with 410s, 411s, whatever these are, that little 318 should be able to roast these pretty good. It's going to ride really funny. It's got no shocks. I don't have shocks to fit it. I'm going to have to get some of those. But this should be, I think, good enough for a burnout, or good enough for a test drive for sure. But let's see. Driveway here, we definitely seem a little spunkier. See if we get any axle up with this thing. Gotta be able to do something here. And just won't do it. Alright, well, even with 410s, it still doesn't have enough pep to spin the tires. Although, doing a brake test, the rear locked up and the fronts didn't. So that was interesting, which that might be beneficial on the track. But that might be part of why it also doesn't want to do a burnout. It's got nothing holding the front brakes, and it's got good brakes on the rear, decent at least. But I can definitely tell it really wanders, and it feels like the front end pushing, which I think it is. So Which brings me to also, I don't know that I've actually touched base with you. I've mentioned it. This front end is bent, and it is jacked, by the way. So I've done more looking into this, and I figured out what has happened with this front end. So the passenger side here is fine. The driver's side, however, is super messed up. And there's gussets and stuff welded into the upper control arm mount. So it's apparent they had an issue, some issue at some point. But I noticed there's a hole on the inner fender here. Punctured, pushed through, whatever, which is right where the upper control arm would be. So I don't think things completely broke, but it looks like at some point the upper control arm mount pushed into the inner fender. And so, and being the front one too, it would have turned this way, which is also why the caster's so messed up on this wheel. I'm guessing they brought it back, and that's why things are welded back together, but it is definitely not where it's supposed to be. So, yeah, that's interesting, but so I've been trying to kind of straighten this front end out the best I can, and it's just, short answer is it's not happening. So I've got to yeah, as of now it seems like I've got too much toe out still, so I'm just gonna adjust it and give it some more toe in, and at least it'll hopefully track a little bit straighter. But yeah, and then I'd still really, I think next on the list I need to I really need to build a skid plate. I need to protect that radiator. So I'm going to build a skid plate from the bumper to the K-member. And I got to put just a slight bend in some bars of metal. I got some square tube I'm going to make. Just drill holes through everything. It's not going to be super strong, but it'll be better than the bare radiator. So, and then I was really hoping I'd have enough to, enough oomph to spin the tires and I could roast these, but that really didn't happen. So I'll put the actual race tires back on. And maybe I'll go see how it does in the dirt. That might be a little bit more exciting. All right, full day of work. I got a lot done though. Rear axle's done. It's in. Wheel wells are cut. I think I've got to do some trimming still. I'll see about that. I gotta get some shocks tomorrow at work. And yeah, pretty much I think we're about race ready. I would like to build like a push bar slash grill expanded sheet metal thing on the front. And I'm thinking I can just basically make it look like a push bar and do expanded sheet metal on it. And that'll act as my grill, protect the radiator from some big stuff at least, because it is just wide open up there. And yeah, get the shocks on the back. Other than that, we are pretty much race ready. I'd like to zip tie or electrical tape some wiring inside, just kind of loom everything together, and yeah, this has been quite the thrash here. So this thing is looking awesome though, and I believe next time you'll see this, it's gonna be on the racetrack. So we'll catch you then. Take it easy, y'all.